Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, my name is Lorenaaguirre and I post here on my YouTube channel every Monday and Saturday. So if you guys haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. So today, you guys already read by the title why you are here. We are going to be working with airbrush paints. These are the ones I got. Please excuse my desk, it's a mess. But with that being said, I did want to be able to show you guys how I was able to get my airbrush to work and things that I learned about it to make it not sputter. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in the video. Alright you guys, so first off, something that I do want to touch base on is I made a video with my airbrush that I got prior to this one. So there is one video that I have already out and how I use my airbrush. Before, originally, like, I would get the Après art inks and I would pour it into my airbrush, and then after I would be able to kind of just like play around with it and do things that I wanted to do. But you guys all know that the Après art inks are kind of pricey, so I did want to actually get some airbrush stuff. So the art inks, they did work because they were so thin. They were almost like liquid, so spraying them out was so easy. But if you end up having some mess up where you end up puddling it on the nail, which happened quite a bit with me, even if I had it far away, sometimes it would sputter out a spot and there is no way of getting rid of it. So it was kind of more of a problem than making it easy for me. So for a long time, I stopped using my airbrush, and I've been seeing TikToks recirculating on TikTok and things like that, and people have been doing amazing jobs. And if you guys don't know, Lovers and Friends Festival is this weekend, so I wanted to be able to show you guys what I want to do for my nails. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What I wanted to go ahead and show you guys was this airbrush. So this is what it looks like. This attaches to right here and is a cordless airbrush. So I do want to be able to take it apart. I want to tell you guys kind of like what each part is for. So this part in the back, it is to kind of like you twist it and it'll move up or down. So that basically controls how much you are able to pull this back. If you have it super tight, this isn't going to be able to go anywhere. But if you loosen this part up, then you'll be able to pull it back. And then you'll be able to pull it all the way back. So that's how that is. And then this right here, this is actually to hold the needle that's inside of here, which I'm going to take it apart so you guys will be able to kind of see how that is. But if you take this off right here, you guys will see that, or the needle, you can't see it because it's so far back. But normally the needle will come out right here. And when you pull this for the air to come out, you will see the needle will end up going back inside of the handpiece right here. And so what this little bolt thing is for is to grip tight onto the needle, so when you pull it back, it's able to grab it and pull it back. If it's loose, it's not going to grab anything. So let me go ahead and take this off. And whenever I like to take it apart, I like to kind of keep it in the way that it comes. So since this is the end and things like that. So this is the needle, and you guys can see right here. But there is a needle coming out at the very tip. You want to be very careful with the needle because if you bend it or break it, it is not like the airbrush, it is going to sputter. So I'm going to pull it out very carefully, making sure that this bolt is undone and it's not super tight, because you won't be able to pull it out if the bolt is tightened. So I like to make sure before using my airbrush that one, I like to clean it out after every single use. So and then once I am done cleaning it out, I will pull out the needle, making sure that there is no buildup on here, because a lot of times there will be buildup on here. And then I also like to take off this little thing right here. So I'm able to do it with my hands because it's loose, but if it's kind of tight, there is this little wrench thing that you could go in and it loosens this up. So I'm going to go ahead and put it to the side. And then now that I am done with that, something that I love to have on hand is I love these little, they're floss sticks for if you have braces, but I like to keep this because if there is any buildup in here, paint or anything, this is going to go ahead and scrub it out like it's like a mini bottle brush. And I even like to have it for this side to kind of make sure that there is nothing left behind. But while the paint is wet, say if I just used it, I like to pour acetone in here and kind of let it tilt forward. Don't tilt it back, because if you tilt it back, then it's going to flood the handpiece and it's going to go down into your air pump. And you can mess it up. So I like to go like that. And you guys could see that there is some stuff coming out. But I like to also make sure that there is no stuff coming out when I do this. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this all back together. But before I do, this little piece right here, this is where the paint sprays out. The needle comes through here and then it sprays out. Right here, you want to really make sure that there is no dried paint on here, because this is something that I do notice that it will sputter if you have paint on there. That is all nice and clean. I'm going to go ahead and start screwing this back together. I like to use the wrench to make sure that is nice and tight. And you don't want to tighten it too much where it ends up stripping it, so be careful of that. And then put your needle back in. Alright, now that's on there. And then I like to make sure to tighten this. And then you guys could see that it is pulling back. You guys could see this little dot at the top disappear. So now I am done with that. I'm going to go ahead and screw this back on. And I don't want it to be able to pull back all the way, because I do feel like sometimes it lets out too much paint. So I do feel like right here is like kind of perfect. Okay. If I do, I will end up adjusting it like while I'm working with it. All right, now that I went ahead and finished that, I got my tips. I should have prepped these, honestly, you guys, because I am wearing them right now, and I do feel like the corners have chips. So just keep that in mind when you are doing something like this, to prep the surface, which I had completely forgot just because it straight away had the color on these Gel-X tips. But these Gel-X tips are great if you are sensitive to products like how I am. I use a sensitive gel with them, and I find that I am actually able to have them on without having any type of swelling. So that has been great for me. But now I'm going to go ahead and get these decals. These are ones from my shop, Opulence Nail Co. I'll go ahead and link them down below for you guys if you guys are trying to find something like this. And these are great because you could actually put them on as just a sticker, or you could use them in the method like this, which I love. So I'm just going to go ahead and place some of them all over the place. I am going to put some of like the outlines and the negative space parts on there. Alright, I went ahead and checked my poll on IG, and a majority said white. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing my paint. But pay very close attention. I did end up using alcohol and acetone, and basically, if you guys could see, what had happened is started to clump together. So if something like that happens to you, definitely do not put it in your airbrush machine, just because it will gunk it all up, and then you will find yourself having to take it all apart and cleaning it again, and you don't want to do that. So I went ahead and took that out, and I'm going to go ahead and clean it, and I am just using alcohol just because this is an alcohol based paint. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 to 4 drops in there. You're going to want to thin it out. If you don't thin it out, it will clump up in your machine just because it is so thick. Unless your machine is very, very powerful, then it will be able to kind of like push it out and not have that much of a problem. But I do find with this one, since it is smaller and it doesn't have that big old air compressor, it's not made the same, so it's not going to be able to push as much air out. So you guys see, I completely failed. This is why you want to make sure that your airbrush is nice and clean. So I went ahead and remixed my paint with just alcohol, and I mixed it all up, and I am testing it on my thumb. I normally like to wear gloves for something like this, but I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just get this ready. And I am going to use my thumb to press the trigger. I do find that that is actually a lot easier for me. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start airbrushing. You guys can kind of see a little bit of that gold changing to kind of more of a white. I do recommend using like a sticker that is opposite of the paint you are using, because if you use, say if I were to use a white sticker, it would be very, very, very hard to kind of see where I am working and how much spray has been going on there, just because a lot of the times the spray, you need to build it up and able to be able to see it. So just keep that in mind when you are putting your stickers on. If I would have used a white one, it would have been a lot difficult. So paint wasn't coming out exactly how I wanted, so I'm just going to go ahead and check my machine, making sure that the tip of this is actually nice and clean. Alright, and then you're going to want to go ahead and making sure once you put it back on that it is spraying out right. So make sure to like use or test something on it. And again, I like to actually use my thumb to press the button back. I do feel like it gives like a consistent flow and things like that. I do feel like if I just use my pointer finger, it does make things a lot harder for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and go in around my butterfly. I definitely recommend kind of like putting paint, like finding a certain area where you want to apply a majority of the paint and then letting it fade up. Just because I do feel like if you fill in the butterfly, I feel like it doesn't give that gradient type of look, and it didn't give the look that I was actually going for. So I mean, again, everything is all personal preference when it comes to art, so I mean, do as you please, but I do find that for me, when I filled it in all the way, I personally wasn't a huge fan on it, but I'm sure if I seen a different method of somebody doing it another way, I do feel like I would actually really like it. So tag me in your art if you guys do end up trying that method and seeing if you like it. But you guys will be able to see on the middle finger of this set, I do feel like I filled it in a little bit too much. And I do really like the way the thumb came out. The thumb was actually my favorite out of all of these. So stay tuned for the very end because you guys will be able to see the final pictures. But something that I also want to talk about on here is when you are using the airbrush, you really want to make sure that you're not bouncing the trigger up and down, up and down, up and down. You want to make sure that you are constantly having it pressed down, because if you start and go, or like stop and go, what will end up happening is that you will clog your machine. And this is something that I did so much when first learning how to use a machine. So definitely, you guys, if you guys could avoid that as much as possible, make sure you're not bouncing that trigger back and forth, because you will dry the paint inside of there and you will find yourself having to go back and clean so much, and you don't want that. Dried paint in there is no fun at all. I feel like it gives such a hard time when cleaning. So now I'm going to go ahead and kind of switch up where some of these butterflies are and kind of interchange them. So you don't need brand new butterflies for each step. I mean, if you have them and you're able to do it, it's easier just because you won't having to be peeling them off like how I am right here. And because I didn't prep the surface correctly, I did end up like scratching off some of the paint because the paint was on such a slick surface. Any scratches to it is going to take off and wear off the paint. So just keep that in mind when you guys are doing it. And something that I also would recommend is wearing gloves with this, just because it does kind of get a little bit messy. And if you are able to put that latex paint on your client, making sure that it is not getting all over their skin, that would also be great. But if you are unable to do that and you're working on yourself like I am, I was able to actually wash this paint away really easily. So I was really happy about that, just because I thought I was going to be painted white on my skin for a week or so. And these nails, as you guys know, they were for Lovers and Friends Festival. So I did want my hands looking nice and cute because I haven't had nails on for a very long time. So this one I did feel like I needed to spray paint more or airbrush more on it because it wasn't giving the look that I wanted. So I do feel like the more paint you use on it, the better look that it will give. But another thing I do want to recommend is making sure to have your airbrush kind of further away from it. And look how cute the thumb is, you guys. I love the way the thumb came out. That one is my favorite. But if you end up going very, very close with the airbrush gun, what will end up happening is that you will end up making it puddle, and the look of it isn't as nice and seamless looking and airbrushed looking. So now that I am done with that, I am actually going to kind of clean up some of the spots where I didn't like that it left marks, which was that at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and top coat. Something that I did wish I would have done for this set is actually blend the cuticle area in, so once I did go and apply them, it would be nice and smooth. But at the beginning, my fear is what if I end up prepping the tip too much and these stickers don't lay down correctly, which I didn't end up having that problem when I did it on another set. So if you guys are, just in case you guys are wondering if it did affect the set, no, it didn't. And sometimes I do actually like to put down a matte top coat too. I do feel like it sticks really well and it just looks really good, and the paint grabs on a lot better as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and get a dotting tool in my liner brush from OPULENCENAILCO, and I am just going to go ahead and dot and pull from the center. I don't want to end up pulling towards the center, because if I pull paint into the center, it's not going to give that like wispy end look, and it's not going to look like little twinkle stars. So I'm going to go ahead and just start painting these all over the nails, and you guys will be able to see in just a second how I start to apply them. So stay tuned for that, because I do want to be able to show you guys how I applied them, especially with having the paint on there. Because you guys all know that if you guys even try to get like press-on nails, you are not able to apply them easily. So that is something that I do want to basically explain to you guys, just because I did have trouble on some spots, and I do want to let you guys know what is going to actually make your job easier as a nail tech instead of harder. Alright, now it is time to put a top coat on. I am using Colorline gels, and I am just going to go ahead and place this on there, and then I'll go ahead and put it into the light for 30 seconds. Right, now that is done, I'm just checking it and making sure that I got top coat all over and even on the edges of the nail. And then now I'm going to go clean up my mess, and I'm going to take them out of the light. And it is time to prep my nail. I'm going to get this cuticle bit. You guys know this is one of my most favorite things on earth, is this cuticle bit. I love this one. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off, and gently remove all of my cuticles. I promise you guys, this cuticle bit does not hurt. And if you guys are making your clients hurt with it, chances are you are doing it wrong. So just be careful with that. You don't want to jab their cuticles. Just kind of be very gentle in that area, just because some people are a lot more sensitive than others. Now I'm going to go ahead and go in with a fine sanding band, and I am going to have it on a very, very low setting. I know some people were asking me, how do I know how fast my drill is going? And honestly, you guys, since I use Koopa's drill, I do feel like I hear a sound when it comes to my drill, and I can kind of tell how fast I'm going when I have it on. And when you are doing this, you want to use a very fine sanding band. You don't want to end up using anything coarse, because the more coarse that it is, it doesn't mean that your nails are going to stay lasting longer. I know a lot of people think the harder you sand it, the better it's going to stay, and that is not the case. I promise you, it will end up just messing up the nails, and then over time, your client having nails on, their nails will be weak and they tend to lift a lot more. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and trim my cuticles. I am honestly doing a very, very sloppy job at this, so please don't use this video as like a way to cut your cuticles and things like that, just because since it is myself, I do feel like I'm not as thorough. I was just trying to hurry up and get it done before my fiance and baby were getting home, because I had a lot of stuff to do before I had left on this trip. So just applying that second coat, as you guys see here, making sure that I am not getting or touching my cuticle area. just because I did not want to end up being swollen and my fingers be all itchy, because that is no fun, and especially on vacation, I do not want that to be a problem. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this Sensitive Extend Gel, and my light, I ended up breaking it, you guys. I'm so sad, but it is still working, so of course I'm going to use it until I could fix it. I do need to unscrew the bottom and try to like tighten up the wires off the bottom or something, because it's still a really good lamp and I love this lamp, but the fact that I messed it up because I just wasn't taking care of my stuff makes me so mad. But once I fix it, you guys will be able to see that. Hopefully I fix it sooner than later so it doesn't end up getting any worse. Now I'm going to go ahead and prep the bottom. I am using that dehydrator that I use to dehydrate my nails. I'm using that same thing on the back, and basically what I do is making sure that the number is all gone on the back of the nail and making sure that it etches it where there is a little bit of lines in there. And if my sticky backing or anything like that comes off, I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And if there's any corners on this set of nails, I'm going to go ahead and either file it off or scratch it off. And in this case, I was scratching it off just because I was in such a hurry. And then I felt like this one needed another coat. I don't know why the top coat acted kind of funny. So I'm just going to pop that into the light. And I want to face my light away from my work area so I don't end up curing this gel on accident. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And then I'm going to press it down and put it underneath the light. I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting it in the right spots, so please bear with me. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it under the light. I do feel like this light is super easy to use, so definitely if you guys could get your hands on something like this other than the super small ones, I definitely recommend. Alright, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it up to the light, making sure that it is nice and cured. And after I'm done with that, I'm going to pop it into my big light just because that one is very strong. And so I just wanted to be able to do that and making sure that they were all intact. So the ones that I did have a lot of paint up at the top, like this one you see here, those ones you might have to cure them longer just because it is harder for the light to penetrate through these and for it to stick down. So that is something that I recommend when you are doing this. If you guys are using the method that I use, definitely recommend to leave some of that negative space, or a good amount of negative space. Maybe don't make it so opaque, because the more opaque it is, the harder it's going to be to cure on. And when I did do this, I wanted to make sure that I was actually curing in longer intervals than I would if I didn't have any paint on it at all, because I wanted to make sure that there was no wet paint underneath it. Alright, and I like to paint basically wherever my nail is going to be because it allows the product to flow a lot better. And I'm going to stick it down and then put my hand under there, just because I do feel like it makes sure that I am nice and straight and that I have the gel flowing all the way to the edge. And once I am done with that, I went ahead and put them into the light for around 90 seconds. And this is the finished look, you guys. I went ahead and put on a ton of rings so I could take my product, or basically my final pictures. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube, and if you guys want to see more of my work, definitely check out my IG. I do put a lot of my work on there, and polls and different things like that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll be back with more videos. Bye!